So I'm Saurav Chopra. I'm the founder of 5minutes.ai. This is my email address and the QR code is my LinkedIn. So please, feel free to add me on LinkedIn, and I'd love to connect with you. If you have any questions, you got my email, so ping me anytime after this session or at any point on LinkedIn or on my email. Just a quick background on myself. So I'm a serial HR tech entrepreneur. I've been in HR tech for a long time and been in tech for about 20 plus 24 years now. That tells you my age. So previously I founded a company called Perkbox, which is a market leader in the UK when it comes to employee engagement, reward recognition, perks, employee well-being, reaching about 4 million employees. Prior to that, I was with big tech companies like Deloitte, Yahoo, Nokia in Silicon Valley and in Europe. And 5minutes.ai is what we call, the TikTok of workplace training and upskilling. And Maddie will show you and some of you have actually used the product already. We're very, very excited about this partnership we have with the OLX team. And it's really exciting to see how many of you are already using our platform. So Maddie will do the demo of the platform. I'll focus on the key L&D trends when it comes to AI that we are seeing in 2024. So probably one thing worth mentioning is that the reason why we're excited about this new phase of AI and specifically what it means for L&D is that we've been doing AI experimentation since the day we launched. So when 5 minutes launched almost 3.5 years ago, we were playing with OpenAI GPT-2, and so hence we are .ai. And when the whole ChatGPT wave came along in December 2022, we couldn't be more excited because we've seen the improvements in AI and it has really taken us to the next level. 2.5 years, it was okay, things were happening. And then December 2022, and the last 15 months, it's just gone to a whole new level. It's everywhere. People are using it. It's being embedded. So now what it's about is where does it go from here? What do we see in 2024 or over the next 12 months? So I think one of the first things I would say is that, we're seeing people move from experimentation to embedding AI in their workflows. I'll explain what that means. The second thing is, going beyond ChatGPT. When it started, everything was on ChatGPT. Now you have a ton of tools. Every major company has an AI stack. Every software company will have an AI stack. So how do you go beyond that and stay and remember that it's not just about ChatGPT, which everybody just talks about? The third is, skills-based learning, competency-based learning has been the holy grail for L&D and HR tech. And it's been very, very hard to implement. We believe, and we have seen that it's finally possible using AI. Next theme, decentralization of L&D. Now, what does that mean? With the AI, your managers are empowered. Everybody's using it. Employees are empowered. They can get questions they want instantly and get to the answer they want. So that means L&D gets a bit more decentralized, means that L&D teams are not the only people doing L&D or training in a company. So what does that mean for L&D and how do you cope with it? Then finally, AI is going to take over a huge percentage of tasks for people, especially the admin and repetitive tasks. So that means the change management process that needs to happen in a company, because all of a sudden 40, 50, 20% of what you do will actually be done by AI. So how does that impact an organization? We are already seeing that in some of the large enterprises where there are major consulting projects happening around AI change management. How do you ensure that the right ethics, privacy, and security is happening when this change management is happening in that organization? So we're going to touch upon that. So these are the 5 things we're going to talk about. How do you move from experimentation to embedding of AI? How do you go beyond ChatGPT? Why we are excited that skills-based learning can finally be made possible? What does decentralization of L&D mean? And what does it mean from an AI change management standpoint for you and for your organization? So I'm just going to move to the next slide. So I think Maddie's going to touch upon this quickly. So just a quick overview, 5minutes.ai, we're live in 80 plus global markets, work with many big global brands, some of whom you may know, obviously Dropbox, GSK. In the African market, we're working with a number of fintechs like Kuda, AZA Finance, Azra, Times, Tukitaki, and more are signing up to our platform. Let's do a quick recap of Gen AI. And just so we all are on the same page, aligned, because obviously we have people of different levels of expertise here. So, it was quite interesting. This is a quote from the CEO of Google, which said, what I always put up in when I'm doing an AI session, which is like, by the end of the decade, there'll be two kinds of companies: those who fully utilize AI and those who are out of business. So this is the CEO of Google. Most recently, there have been quotes from Elon Musk where he thinks that we are very not far away from artificial general intelligence, which means that AI brains will work better than human brains. Some others disagree. Bill Gates is also all over AI. Warren Buffett, every top leader in the world is now talking about how AI is going to change our lives and how they see this as the biggest innovation since the time of the internet, which is about 34 years ago. So pretty big shift. And obviously, we all need to align with that shift. Now, what's been happening, if you can see, this is a chart that just shows you, how big actually AI is. So if you look at, the top 15 sites in the world. This is about 6 months ago. This data was published by one of the top venture capital firms in the world. ChatGPT was almost close to LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure that it's actually now higher than LinkedIn. And if you put all the AI properties together, like Gemini, ChatGPT, they're probably together in the top 5 used products in the world on the internet. And this is for a technology that's been around for less than 15 months. So this is actually phenomenal. I have been in tech for about 25 years. I've never seen this fast an adoption of any product. And that just tells you how awesome it is, how much it is helping people. So what is Gen AI? So AI has been around for about 60 years, right? So AI has been embedded in our technology products, in our government products, in defense, all kinds of areas. But what is unique about Gen AI, right, which is different to how AI has done predictably in the past, is that Gen AI is able to create new content based on the patterns it has learned from existing data. It is different to other models like you may see in explicit predictions based on past data, which is what you see on Amazon recommendations or in e-commerce sites or any of that. It's very different to that. And kind of think of it as, I always think of, I look at I've got a 21-month-old son, and I kind of equate Gen AI and how Gen AI learns to how toddlers learn, right? So when you have a child growing up, you don't have to teach them your language, your native language. You just speak to them in that language. Their brain captures those patterns, captures that content, establishes patterns, and then lo and behold, a couple of years down the line, your child starts speaking. So that's obviously what Gen AI operates. They really have used human brains to model the Gen AI algorithms and patterns. They just do it at a whole new level of scale, right? So they've fed it all the content from the internet, web, and now images and video, and billions and billions of pages, and trillions of parameters go into these models, which is why they're so hard and difficult to build. And only the biggest companies like Microsoft, like Amazon, like Google, and OpenAI have the capacity to build these models. But effectively, they work like human brains. They use old patterns and use that to predict, generate new content, new patterns, and new data. So if you're like trying to explain someone Gen AI, just look at a child who's growing up and see how they learn. And that's how Gen AI learns as well. Obviously, it uses a ton more patterns and a ton more data. It's not just a theoretical tool. It's not just a tool that you and I use on ChatGPT, help us solve our problems. It is being used at scale. So this is a good example of a case study that comes from Boston Consulting Group, one of the top consulting firms in the world, which usually hires people from top universities. Incredibly talented people join that organization. And what Boston Consulting Group did is they took 2 cohorts. They took the bottom half of people in terms of skills, and they took the top half in that organization, in a specific cohort group. And they gave the bottom half access to ChatGPT, and they gave the top half access to ChatGPT. And basic ChatGPT, not customized heavily. And what they found was that the bottom half of the participants could improve their performance by 40%, and the top half improved their performance by 17% using ChatGPT. Now, what that means is that the gap between the top and the bottom half reduces to only 4%. So you can see in an organization where people are at different levels, ChatGPT can be a tool that can act as a great leveler, reducing the gap between the top and bottom performers by 4%. So then you start thinking about, okay, what does that mean for performance management? What does that mean for talent development in an organization a few years down the line when everybody will be able to have access to tools like that? On the back of that, other consulting firms like Deloitte have rolled out their own chatbots powered by OpenAI or other large language models. You've seen that in law firms. So 75,000 Deloitte people have access to their internal chatbot. So it's happening. It's happening at scale and is actually having a business impact. So that's all about Gen AI recap. Now let's talk about what does that mean from an L&D standpoint. What are people doing in the L&D world, and how you can take from experimentation to actually embedding. How many of you who have chosen the choice C, piloting and testing, how can you start using it extensively? Because we at 5minutes.ai have been using it extensively, and we've seen incredible results. So this was a survey that Don Taylor, who's obviously well known in the L&D world in Europe, did with Egle, and they surveyed hundreds of L&D leaders and managers and asked them, how are you using L&D? So like yourselves, most people were in the bracket of either piloting or testing or experimented but not implemented. And very few people have actually extensively implemented, probably less than 10%. The blue employers means people in L&D who are working in large organizations or medium-sized organizations, while the other category refers to people who are, going just join the L&D career or are L&D consultants. So you can see, obviously, the consultants are using it much more heavily. They're independent. They probably have less time and less resources, so they're trying to maximize the tool, and their usage levels of L&D consultants are a lot higher than usage levels for employers. The biggest, and so next, the same survey talked about how are they actually using it. So if you look at these use cases of how people are using L&D, primarily AI in L&D, primarily it has been around using it to create content. So content production is a primary area where the most heavy use of L&D is coming from. That's how we started as well. And then, adaptive learning, this is information discovery and stuff like that. But we believe there are a lot better use cases on top of content production that you can use generative AI and L&D for, and we're going to show you some of that. This data came from Philippa Hardman. She's a well-known researcher. Look her up. She produces some awesome content, awesome blogs. And she talked about how in her own tests of using Gen AI, what are the time savings she has seen. She said she's seen 94% reduction in time to design, 92% reduction in cost per design per learning hour, and 96% increase in design quality. So not only is it reducing time to design, cost to design, but actually improvement in design quality. And Dr. Philippa Hardman is a long-term L&D professional and AI researcher. So this is fascinating that how she's now applied AI across all her work processes to see these phenomenal results. Now, so that's data backing the fact from renowned sources how in L&D it can make a big impact. And so where can it make an impact? So if you think about the L&D process, right? So you do obviously, and everybody will have a different process. There are different things that everybody do, but broadly capturing all the different elements involved from an L&D standpoint. You talk about, you do the needs assessment, discovery, you do course design, content development, course delivery, participant engagement, assessment evaluation, continuous improvement, reporting and review. So far, a lot of the work has been focused on content development, course design. We believe that you can actually attach it to all aspects of your L&D process. And we're going to show you how you can move from that experimentation to embedding across all elements of the L&D process, and with some actual examples that we as a company use extensively. Now, before we go into those specific prompts that help you solve that problem around how do you extend use of Gen AI beyond content development to other areas, let's talk about how to properly use Gen AI. So I'm sure some of you guys are obviously active users, but I just want to touch upon kind of the key concepts that are super important for you to get the best out of Gen AI. So firstly, let's talk about prompts. So prompting is the language of Gen AI. If you want to use Gen AI effectively at a basic level, you need to understand prompting and what that means. So prompt is a specific instruction that we give to the machine, in this case, the AI tool, the large language model. And right now, it is probably the most important skill you can develop to get the best out of AI. And the great thing about prompting is that it's a natural language. Anyone can use it. Previous to prompting, previous to Gen AI, AI was a preserve of engineers, data scientists, but now everyone can use it. Anyone can use it. AI has been democratized thanks to Gen AI and thanks to prompting. So prompting is the language of Gen AI. How to use prompts? Again, a quick recap. I'm sure you guys, most of you know about this, but I just want to establish and reinforce this again, that the most important thing you can do from a prompt standpoint is to be as specific as possible. Think of Gen AI tools as not of your artificial intelligence, but assisted intelligence. Imagine if all of us had an assistant it was automated. How would you talk to that assistant and how would you interact with that assistant? You would not just give them one instruction and say, hey, do this for me. You'd give a lot more context. You'd be as specific as possible. And you would even use things like negatives. Don't do this, ignore this. And you would have a dialogue with that assistant. So that's the same thing you need to do with a Gen AI tool when you're prompting that Gen AI tool. It needs to be interactive. You need to be specific and you need to give them as much context as possible. And then you don't have to stop at the first answer you get. You need to be interactive, questioning, dialogue, have that interactive dialogue. So some of the things I do and my team does, and I'm constantly learning from my team because they're a lot better prompt engineers than my team than I am. And some things that we do is we don't stop at the first answer. We always ask questions like, hey, what would have been a better prompt? How would you approach it differently? So if you ask ChatGPT after giving a prompt, hey, what would be a better prompt? You'll get pretty awesome results. So keep that dialogue going. The only way to get better at prompting and Gen AI tools is to practice. And no one can give you, we have an amazing mini course on Gen AI, just to give you some framework and guidelines. And what that course will tell you on our platform is just keep using it. You'll get better. And so that's the only way to get better at it, and keep interacting, asking that dialogue. I want to show you, going back to this value chain where you can use Gen AI across the whole learning process. I want to give you some examples of what we use. These are live examples of how we use Gen AI, some prompt examples. So for example, what we have done, we're a skills-based learning platform. We cover hundreds and hundreds of skills. And within each skill, we have sub-skills and competencies and curriculums around those skills. So obviously, to build that across, 200 plus, 250 plus skills is a pretty complex task for a single person or even a team to do, especially across product, marketing, sales, and so on and so forth. So we use Gen AI and we created these curriculums. And obviously, they were all validated by humans and domain experts. But the initial piece, pretty much 90% of the work was done by AI for us. So here's an example of how you would use it for competency and curriculum development. I've got the first half of the prompt. The second half of the prompt is our crown jewel. So I'm not necessarily going to be able to share that in this public domain. So for example, if you're trying to create a curriculum for customer support as a skill, you could use a prompt like, skill name is customer development. You're an L&D organization. You need to teach employees to master the skill to level 1, 2, and 3. And so we're breaking down the skill customer support into a bunch of sub-skills and a bunch of different levels and creating a curriculum with modules around that skill. So this is something that, normally would take a lot of research, a few days of research, and you can get it instantly, obviously validated with a human. And this is just half of the prompt. And there's a much more detailed prompt on the back of it. Similarly, one of the things that we've done is we created, we're about microlearning. So microlearning is about chunking, repetition, recall. So we use, in our system, we're building flashcards. So every lesson, and we've got 20,000 of these lessons, if you've learned a lesson on our platform, we want to show you flashcards at some point, later, a week down the line when you come back on the platform, or a few days down the line. Now, you can imagine creating flashcards for 20,000 lessons would take us years to do if we did it using, just as a human. So what we've done is basically, we've taken the content, the transcripts, and then written a prompt where we have fed those transcripts to the AI and said, hey, generate a flashcard for me for this lesson and with this skill, and so on and so forth. So again, there's a half of the prompt, the rest is, but just shows you how detailed our prompts are. And some of these prompts have taken us a week to develop, some cases less, some cases more. And when I say a week, it's about testing, iterating, and that is really, really important. So there are some simple prompts you can do. There's some more complex prompts you can do, but they can really help you save, months and months of time and effort. So there's some prompt examples. Then another example, very common problem for L&D leaders is that, how do you actually engage your internal stakeholders in creating a learning program, right? So here's just a couple examples of where you could use it. It's not just about writing the prompt, to get you the course content. It's about, how do you draft the sequence of emails? How many emails should you send? What should be the length of that email? And then you're going to actually use image generation AI as well to generate images through your prompt. So these are some examples. So example here, I'm asking ChatGPT to create a prompt that I can use on an image generation tool, for example. So it's mixing and matching. Not only is it doing emails for me, it's telling me how many emails should be used, what should be in those emails, but also I can use a prompt to generate an image on another image generation tool, or for the matter, on ChatGPT itself. So these are some examples. Again, you can play with it. I wanted to show you some quick examples. Also, bear with me 1 second on online as we do it. So let me show you the screen. So here we go. So I just want to show you live as well. For example, this is can you see my screen? Can you see a web browser on the screen now?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So one of the things that, again, going beyond ChatGPT, we believe that Gemini is picking up really, really fast. Google has really improved its game a lot. For those guys who love ChatGPT, I'd encourage you to use Gemini. So, for example, here's a little book summary. So I just wrote a prompt. Thanks to my colleagues. My colleagues have built this master prompt sheet where we have tons and tons of very extensive detailed prompts. So we have done book summaries. Is something new we have launched on 5 minutes. So I took at a book summary prompt and I said, hey, give me a book summary of 7 habits of highly successful people. So you can see, nice little book summary. There's a lot of things you can do, but I'm encouraging you not just to use ChatGPT, but also use other tools like Gemini. Google's really getting much, much better. The one thing which I've seen with Gemini is that, just a little tip, is that if you log in with your personal Gmail address versus the company Gmail address, they give you more advanced AI tools on your personal Gmail address because they're conscious of what they release to Google Workspace because of liabilities. But with personal Gmail address, you can get much more advanced Gemini features than you get on the corporate Gmail address. So if you want to use Gemini, I would encourage using your personal Gmail address. Similarly, we talked about, I wanted to give you an example of a prompt, the example that I gave you, which is, I use it for my LinkedIn posts, improving my LinkedIn posts. So this is about creating 5 multiple choice questions, which is assessments. So you can see the level and detail of this prompt. Again, this is coming from my team. This is not coming from me. They're amazing at generating prompts. And so we have created a bunch of questions on advanced financial modeling, which is one of the skills that we need to develop. Again, we obviously validate all of these using humans, but the fact is that we've done it at scales with tens and thousands. But you can see just a level of prompts and the details that we are actually doing and using. So that's some examples of prompts. I know that that's important to you guys, and that can actually actionable stuff that you can actually save time on. But again, go and play and learn, and that's the only way. Experiment and learn. So next topic, GenAI fuels skills-based learning. So we are very, very excited about skills-based learning. We believe that skills-based learning is how learning should happen, how learning should be personalized. Let's talk about what skills-based learning means. So we believe there are 6 steps to creating skills-based learnings. Skills-based learning effectively means that you're aligning learning to the skills that people need to develop as opposed to the roles they need to develop. So we're a skills-based learning platform. As you use our platform, you'll see there's a skill tied to every lesson, and then we're helping you match and track that skill progression. And that's how we think employees should learn as well. So what are the 6 steps involved in creating a skills-based learning journey? First is obviously creating skill maps, which is tied to a role. So you take a role and say, hey, what skills does this employee need to develop for this role, given the context of my organization, given the context of this individual, and given the context of the role. Then you look at, hey, where are they in that journey? What are the gaps? How good are they? Are there particular skills? So you do the skill assessment, you measure the skill gap. And then within each skill, you look at what are the competencies that need to be developed? What are the proficiencies? What are the levels? So on and so forth. Then you create skill-based learning paths, and then you do more assessments, and you carry on that feedback loop for that user. Now, that's very, very complex. If you're a small L&D team or a one-man L&D manager, and you have to do it across, tens and tens of roles in a company. And this is where AI really, really helps. And some of the prompts that I have shown you, like the skill assessment one or skill mapping one, you can just play and create those skill maps, and you'll get 90% there better than if you use a detailed prompt, and which is extensively, from your side, tested with ChatGPT or Gemini. So we've actually used it pretty extensively. We are really, as a skills-based learning platform, because we've been in the forefront of using Gen AI, what we've done in our platform, and Maddie will show you, we have created a skill-based map, skill maps for every role. We've created skill-based learning paths. We do skill gap analysis based on the assessments. Again, the assessments, we have 10,000 plus assessments, which were built using Gen AI, obviously validated by humans and experts, but 90% of the work was done by Gen AI, and what would have taken us years, took us months. Then within each skill, we mapped different competencies and created, modules and curriculums, as I showed you in my example live on ChatGPT for advanced financial modeling before. And then we have created tons of assessments again. So we've done that at scale. You can do it for specific roles yourselves. You just need to interact with ChatGPT, ask the questions, keep interacting and getting the response. But finally, skills-based learning is here, which is exactly what employees care about. Employees care about skill development. They don't necessarily want learning for the sake of it. They want to see skill progression. They want to be able to see something that they're able to do better in their job day to day and develop those skills that help them do better in their job day to day. So skill development is finally here, which we're, skills-based learning and skills-based development is finally here, which we're very, very, excited about. And you can do it as well as we can do it. We just do it at scale, and we automate everything. Next trend, decentralization of L&D. So here's a fascinating statistic that I came across a few months ago. This was based on a research that BCG did. They interviewed about 13,000 people, top organizations, 18 countries, every region in the world. And they found that 92% of leaders have used Gen AI at least once. And managers have also about 69%. And then the frontline employees have less usage. Now, what is really exciting is that this is what I call a reverse technology adoption curve. Because normally what happens with technology adoption is that, it goes bottom to top. So people on the frontline use it first, then it goes up to the top. This is a reverse technology adoption curve. And I've never seen this in tech, but it just tells you that top leaders in your company, more senior the people, the more they use Gen AI, which is pretty exciting. It may not be the case in every industry, but across the board, across the sample set, when they covered and they averaged it out, this is what they've seen, which is pretty fantastic. The second thing is that people who are actually using Gen AI actively are very optimistic about it. Like, you and I and people in this group who have actively used it are very, very optimistic about it. People who haven't used it are very concerned about it. And this is a hallmark of a great technology, that when more you use it, the more you love it. Right? So 60% of the 2% of the regular users are highly, highly optimistic about the technology. So guess what's going to happen? It's going to spread. If your top leaders, managers are using Gen AI, whether for personally or professionally, that's going to come down. It's going to spread rapidly. And what you've also seen, at least in the UK and America, is that a lot of large corporations, or as I gave you the example of Deloitte, Singapore, law firms, professional services, all rolling out Gen AI, ChatGPT to every. Now, what does that mean? Is that your managers, your people, your leaders are going to be using it, if not already using it, to solve and save time for personal reasons, but also for professional reasons. It will become their AI coach. They will have an AI co-pilot. So how do you adapt to a decentralized model where it's not just you creating all the courses and the programs? It is the people, the managers, the leaders, even the frontline using AI to answer the questions, which they may have previously come and said to you, hey, give me a course, right? They may be doing it themselves now. So how do you do that? What do you do now? How do you lean? So we believe that what L&D can do now is to lean in and proactively drive adoption where possible in your organizational context, but make sure that the use is safe, ethical, and efficient. A lot of people who are using AI and Gen AI don't actually know how to use it. I spoke to someone at a large manufacturing organization in Europe, and one of their senior sales directors uploaded proprietary manufacturing data into ChatGPT because he wanted to summarize it. What he didn't know was that that data then went into a big LLM and it's publicly available. So where L&D and HR can lean in is to make sure that as this adoption is happening, people are actually using it properly. The do's, but also the don'ts, they are as important as the do's, right? What that also means is that less, in terms of obviously use it for curriculum design, but it is possible that you'll need to spend less time on curriculum design, but really figuring out, hey, what's the L&D strategy? How do you use your time for those one-on-one interactions with the people who are, which is what you love to do. Instead of spending tons of time on content production, now you have more time with AI automating this, with some of the managers picking up this content production needs, that you can actually spend one-on-one time with them, and you can be their internal AI consultant and stay ahead of the curve, make them adopt these new tools and new applications. So what does that mean in terms of what we see is L&D doing more of and less of? We believe that content development, just for the sake of it, time spent on content development, creation of these learning paths, all these skill assessments, either you'll use AI to make life easier for you, or some of your managers may be able to do it. And where you can spend more of your time, and where we see you guys spending more of your time from an L&D standpoint, is become that support channel, become that internal consultant, having those conversations, helping them make sure they're making the best use of the tools, even AI tools, and help foster that learning culture, ensure that the use of AI is safe, ethical, and secure. And put some guardrails around it, put some frameworks around it, put some strategy around it, and have those conversations. So that's where we see more of happening, because it is no doubt that if there were some managers or leaders creating their own programs, they'll do more of that in the very near future, because with the power of Gen AI and ChatGPT, which they're using already. So decentralization of L&D, big trend. You got to get ahead of it, and you got to make the most of it to benefit yourselves and your L&D teams. Next big trend, going beyond ChatGPT. ChatGPT has been the rage. There are a ton of tools out there. There are too many tools out there as well. So you got to pick what works best for you and your needs. But it's essential to look beyond ChatGPT. There's some things that Gemini does much, much better than ChatGPT. There's some things that Claude does much, much better than ChatGPT. So find your tool for your use case and play with it. So this is just a snapshot of tools that we use, and they're out there. Obviously, there are hundreds, but you can't use hundreds. So use the right ones. Text generation, querying. Obviously, ChatGPT is there. Gemini, sorry, this should say Gemini, but you get a picture. Google Bard or Gemini is very, very good. I'm probably spending 30-40% of my time using Gemini compared to ChatGPT now. Back in the day, it was pretty much all ChatGPT. But Google you can't write off Google, and they're doing phenomenal work, and they're getting better every day. Claude is great as well for summarization. And then obviously Bing, that uses OpenAI as an underlying API level. Images and presentations, Canva is doing phenomenal work. Canva is just embedding AI, not making a huge amount of noise about it, but people who use Canva, you can see the changes. It's improving very, very fast. Video, there are tools like Synthesia, HeyGen, Runway, and Lumen 5. We use a combination of HeyGen, Lumen 5, sometimes Synthesia. So check it out. Again, it depends on your need and your use case. Multimodal data analysis. So a lot of people don't necessarily use ChatGPT for our AI tools for data analysis. That's actually one of my favorite use cases. So when you're getting all these survey results that you're doing for L&D surveys, or you're getting data that you want to analyze, I ask my product teams to actually use ChatGPT for data analysis. Obviously, you got to be very, very careful. You can't upload proprietary company data that's highly sensitive. You have to anonymize it in some way, shape, or form if you're doing that. And then, secondly, ChatGPT has a setting. If you don't have the enterprise ChatGPT or ChatGPT for Teams product, you have a ChatGPT paid product or the free product. ChatGPT has a setting in their settings page. They don't talk about it much, where you can actually disable your data from training the internal ChatGPT models. So you can click that box, and that means that if you're uploading data, they will not use it for training their LLMs. So that's the setting you can pick. But when it comes to data, it can be a big, big help, but you got to be very, very careful about how you use it. We believe that the next innovation is going to come in two areas when it comes to AI tools. I think the first thing is going to be around what you call custom GPTs or GPT App Store. Those of you who have the paid subscription of ChatGPT will be able to see this. I think what OpenAI is trying to do is exactly what Steve Jobs did when they came out with the iPhone. First the iPhone came out, then they started launching apps. Now you've got millions and millions of apps. That's exactly the strategy that ChatGPT is following. Initially the GPT, and now you've got custom GPTs that you can, if you're on the paid product, you can explore those GPTs. This is Brandon Carson. He's the head of global learning at Starbucks. He released his own custom GPT where you can, interact with that GPT and, get feedback on your L&D strategy. So GPT App Store, we believe in the next 12 months is going to ramp up, and you'll see a lot more use cases. It's early days for it right now, but the same thing happened with the Apple iPhone. Initially some apps, weather was the most popular apps, and now we see everything or most of internet activity has an app associated with it. Then copilots, we believe that most software tools will embed Copilot. Obviously, Microsoft has embedded it at scale with Microsoft 365, which some of you may have access to. In the world of education, Khan Academy has had Khanmigo for more than a year. They work very closely with OpenAI to embed the Khanmigo custom GPT, if you call it, the Khanmigo Copilot, if you call it, and actually that's helped them teach a lot more students than they could do previously, because this Khanmigo is an AI Copilot that automatically answers questions from the students that they're trying to teach. You'll see more of this happening. It won't be just Copilot, from Microsoft, but pretty much every HR tool will have every software tool will have a Copilot in the next 12 to 24 months. And from our standpoint, we're also building Copilot. So we're going to launch, obviously, as Maddie will show you, you've got the 5 Minutes app, but in the next 6 months, we're going to be launching Copilots where, if we are not able to answer the question through our lesson, we'll give you much more, interactive feedback through our Copilot. And we will also have what we call custom GPTs, so skill-specific GPTs, where it could be around sales techniques, it could be around, AI for L&D, so all these kinds of things. So you'll see a lot of innovation happening from companies like us and others launching these Copilots in the market. Final point, in terms of trends that we see, that's going to be a big change management phase when it comes to organizations with AI. This is a report that was published by Accenture, which talks about how different industries are going to get disrupted by AI. This is, again, 6 months old, and it uses employment data based in the US. So these are the industries that will be impacted by AI and how. So you can see a lot of the professional services, legal, insurance are the first, where a big chunk of the tasks will be automated. So again, the thing here is to think about is that they're not saying necessarily that, hey, these jobs will disappear. It's about what percentage of tasks will be impacted and automated using AI. So this is just a snapshot. So you can imagine these are big, big chunky percentages. This is what Bill Gates is talking about. This is what Mark Zuckerberg is talking about. This is what the biggest industry chieftains are talking about. And so it is happening. It's here. It's already happening in big enterprises. Now it's going to happen to then medium-sized and then smaller businesses. And it'll make us all more productive. It'll take away a lot of the admin stuff we do and our colleagues do. So what can L&D teams and HR teams can play when it comes to this change management? It's not 100% clear, to be honest with you. No one knows exactly how it's going to all shape up, but I think the important thing is that it's happening and one needs to prepare for it. So what we have seen companies do, and this is more at the enterprise level, we've seen companies create internal AI champions. And this is where L&D can also play a key role. You can become an internal champion or ask for internal champions to be created inside companies. You help them understand AI tools, help them understand AI processes, focus on the internal comms around AI, and focus on the ethics and safety of using AI, because we know that it's biased and it does give biased results. And it's not necessarily safe to use if you don't use it in the right way. You can help your organization assess the impact of AI on tasks, not jobs. Look at how it impacts your talent strategy, training strategy. Would you need so many admin resources in the future? You probably won't, because a lot of it will be automated. So help your organizations understand the talent strategy, the training strategy, what skills they need to be trained on, right? And one of that top skills they need to be trained on should be actually AI. And then proactively address concerns in job security. A lot of people will be concerned around, hey, what's going to happen to my job? And one needs to address those concerns by saying that, hey, it's not about your job, it's about your tasks. A big chunk of your tasks could be automated. So let's focus on the more creative and value-add tasks. We would highly recommend getting your teams trained on AI. Again, we have a ton of AI-specific training for different functions, but we believe it's really important for everybody to understand what are the do's and what are the don'ts. And then work with your HR, work with your IT teams to help establish internal channels so that anyone who's got concerns on AI, how it's going to be used, can ask questions and help and give them feedback and get their feedback on how AI is going to impact their tasks and their functions. So again, this is not clear what's going to happen. It's going to happen over the next 12 months to 24 months. But the key thing is to get ahead of the curve and see within your organizational context, how can you help your companies? So, where do we go from here? I think from my standpoint, I think, again, I'm sure you guys are not panicking, but I've seen some panic when it comes to AI. Don't panic. Think of it as your AI-powered assistant. Don't think of it as artificial intelligence. Think of it as assisted intelligence. Understand the benefits, understand the risks, get internal support from your management teams, put AI tools into place, start using them, and go beyond ChatGPT. It's not just about ChatGPT. Look at the other tools out there. There are plenty of free tools out there. If you don't want to pay for ChatGPT Plus, use Bing. That uses ChatGPT AI APIs anyways. Google Gemini is getting better and better and better. Use those tools. And check the tools that you already have in place. If you have Microsoft Copilot has been released to you, or other tools that you have, check the AI capabilities they have in place. If they don't have AI capabilities, ask them, what do they have? What are they building? And what are they doing? Because they should be. Your software vendors should be embedding AI across their whole product. And whenever you're thinking of highly manual tasks, highly admin tasks, which take up your time, which take up your joy, you don't enjoy them, try to use AI, automate it, let AI automate. So I think that's pretty much from my side. We have a ton of AI. You already have access to 5minutes.ai thanks to our partnership with OLX. You can actually, not only do we have content for L&D professionals, we have a ton of AI content for different functions. And it's very, very actionable content on our platform, which actually anyone in any function can take and help themselves save a ton of time. And finally, here's a QR code to our AI course, which you have access to on 5minutes.ai, thanks to your membership of 5minutes.ai. Snap this QR code and go access that course. I think that you guys will learn a lot and help you all save a ton of time. So that's it from my end.